She didn't reply. The message was delivered. You can see it. 2 little check marks, a blue dot, whatever. The message got there. And nothing. 5 minutes. 30 minutes. 2 hours. And something starts happening in your body that makes no rational sense. Your stomach tightens. Your thoughts speed up. You start building scenarios, each one worse than the last. Did I say something wrong? Is she angry? Did something change and I didn't notice? You try to distract yourself. You open another app. Close it. Open it again. Check if the message is still there. It is. And the silence continues. Now stop for a second and think. This person is someone you love. Someone who is probably okay. Maybe she is at work, at lunch, with her phone at the bottom of her bag, not even thinking about you. But your body is not reacting as if that were the case. Your body is reacting as if something is wrong, for real, as if there were a real threat. Concrete, immediate. And the question almost nobody asks is why? Why does the silence of someone you love trigger the same physical response that gets triggered when you are in danger? The answer is not in your relationship. It is not in your insecurity. It is not in any recent trauma. It is much farther away than that. Now go back with me to a world completely different from the one you know. No cities, no streets, no walls. An open, vast, and silent world where your species lived in small groups. 30, 40, 50 people at most. Always the same people. Always the same faces. There was no one else besides that group. And that is not a figure of speech. It was literal. Outside that circle of familiar people, the world was unknown, unpredictable, and dangerous. Other groups could be hostile. The environment could be hostile. And you, alone, outside the group, were vulnerable in a way that is almost impossible to imagine today. Now think about what happened when someone in that group stopped responding, not stopped responding to messages. Messages did not exist, but stopped making eye contact, stopped including you in conversations, stopped sharing food, started acting as if you were not there. For your ancestor, that silence was not uncomfortable. It was a sign of danger, because inside a tribal group, exclusion was not symbolic. It was not emotional. It was physical. Being gradually ignored by the group was the first step toward being pushed away. And being pushed away in that world meant facing the environment with no protection, no collective hunting, no sharing of resources, and no one to keep watch while you slept. Being excluded from the group was one of the most dangerous situations a human being could face. And the brain learned that. Deeply. Over hundreds of thousands of years of natural selection, the individuals who detected the first signs of exclusion faster, who responded to that signal with urgency, and who acted to reconnect before it was too late, those were the ones who survived. The ones who ignored the signal. The ones who did not feel that pressure in their chest when someone from the group started to pull away. The ones who did not react with urgency to the silence of someone important. Those people often lost their place in the group before they even realized what was happening. The discomfort you feel when someone you love disappears without explanation is not emotional weakness. It is an alarm system that was built over thousands of years to detect exactly that signal. And this is where the most fascinating part of this story begins. The reason why the silence of someone you love feels like a physical threat is because to your brain it is. Not metaphorically. Not emotionally. Physically. It works like this. First step, your brain has a social monitoring system that runs in the background, all the time, without you noticing. It constantly tracks the signals from the people it considers important to your survival and well-being. Tone of voice, facial expression, frequency of contact, response time, quality of attention. When these signals are within the expected pattern, the system stays quiet. You do not even notice that it exists. But when something changes, when the pattern is broken, when someone who usually replies quickly starts taking longer, when someone who is usually warm becomes cold, when silence appears where there would normally be contact, The system goes off. Second step. The one that triggers this alarm is a small structure located in the center of the brain called the amygdala. The name comes from Greek and means almond because of its shape. It works like a biological alarm system, and its most important feature is this. It does not analyze. It reacts. The amygdala was built to respond to threats with speed, not accuracy. It does not wait for the rational brain to finish evaluating the situation. It fires first and leaves the analysis for later. And here is the crucial detail. The amygdala does not distinguish between types of threat. It only recognizes the level of urgency. Physical threat. Social threat. To it, the response is the same. It activates the alert system, releases cortisol, increases heart rate, sharpens attention, prepares the body to act. That is why silence is not just uncomfortable, it is physically felt. The stomach tightening, the tension in the chest, the difficulty focusing on anything else. It is not an exaggeration. It is not drama. It is your autonomic nervous system responding to a signal that it classifies as urgent. Third step, and this is the most important one. There is a study that completely changed the way science understands social pain. In 2003, neuroscientist Naomi Eisenberger from the University of California, Los Angeles, conducted an experiment that became famous in neuroscience. She placed participants inside an MRI scanner and had them play a simple virtual game, a kind of ball-tossing game with two other virtual players. At a certain point in the game, the other two players simply stopped passing the ball to the participant. No explanation, no warning. They simply excluded that person from the game. The participants knew they were virtual characters. They knew it was a simple game. They knew there were no real consequences. And still, the brain scans showed something that surprised even the researchers themselves. The region that lit up in the brain during social exclusion was the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, the same region that processes physical pain. Not a similar region, not a neighboring region. The same one. Being socially excluded activates in the human brain the same circuit that activates when you get hit, when you feel a burn, when you have pain that the body needs to process as urgent. Social pain is not a metaphor. It is a real, measurable mechanism with a defined neurological location. And here is the detail that almost nobody notices. The intensity of the response does not depend on the objective seriousness of the situation. It depends on how much that person matters to your social bonding system. The closer they are, the more central they are to your sense of safety. The more intensely the system reacts when they disappear. That is why the silence of a stranger means nothing. And the silence of someone you love stops the world. Because to your brain, someone you love is not just a special person. They are a component of your safety system, an anchor in the social environment. And when that anchor disappears without warning, the alarm system does not wait to see what will happen. It reacts now. There is also another mechanism involved in this story, and it explains why waiting is often worse than getting a bad response. The psychiatrist and researcher Jaak Panksepp, one of the most important scholars of emotions in the 20th century, identified that the brain's social seeking system, the one that drives us to maintain contact and bonds, operates in close connection with anxiety circuits. When contact is suddenly cut off without explanation, the system does not go into rest mode. It goes into active search mode. It keeps looking for the signal. It keeps monitoring. It keeps generating that background tension that does not let you focus on anything else. Because from an evolutionary point of view, to stop searching would be to give up on the bond. And giving up on the bond in the tribal world was far too dangerous to be an option. Your brain prefers the anxiety of waiting over anything that feels like giving up. And this is where everything starts to make sense when you look at the modern world. This system worked perfectly. In a group of 50 people, where every bond had real weight in your physical and emotional safety, quickly detecting a change in the behavior of someone close to you was an essential skill. Acting to reconnect before the break became permanent could make all the difference. The alarm was proportional to the real danger. Then everything changed, and the brain did not get the update. Think about what happened to our relationships over the last few decades. For the first time in human history, it is possible to be in immediate contact with the people you love, at any time, from anywhere, in real time. A message that is sent arrives in seconds. A reply can come in moments. And it was exactly this constant availability that created a new problem, one that had never existed before in the history of our species. The expectation of an immediate reply. When contact was difficult, when people had to meet in person or wait days for a letter, the lack of a reply did not trigger any alarm. It was the normal pattern. It was what people expected. But now, when technology has made an immediate reply possible, silence has gained a different meaning. It stopped being neutral. The brain started interpreting it as a choice. She could have replied, and she did not. And this is where the ancient system breaks down. Because the brain does not process this silence as she must be busy. It processes it as the pattern has been broken. And a broken pattern, in the evolutionary language of the alarm system, means investigate, now. Imagine the scene on a split screen. On one side, the ancestor in the savannah, noticing that someone from the group is pulling away, avoiding contact, responding less. The alarm goes off for a reason. The situation requires attention. The bond needs to be checked because the consequences are real and immediate. On the other side, you today, with your phone in your hand, looking at a message that was delivered 40 minutes ago with no reply. The same alarm goes off, with the same intensity, the same cortisol, the same racing thoughts, the same inability to focus on anything else. But the threat is not the same. The person is probably okay. The bond is probably intact. The silence probably means nothing more than a busy afternoon. But the system does not know that. It sees a broken pattern and reacts. And the digital world has made this even more complex in another way that is worth understanding. Before, when people were not available, they simply were not available. There was no information. There was no context. Today, you can see if the person is online. You can see when they read the message. You can see that they posted a story while not replying to you. You can see the two little dots showing that they are typing, then disappearing, then showing up again, then disappearing once more. Each one of these signals is processed by the brain's social monitoring system as new information. And every new piece of information feeds the cycle. She is online. She saw it. She is typing. Why did she not send it? What is going on? The system that was built to monitor rare and important signals now has access to a constant flow of tiny pieces of information about the people you love. And it processes each one of them with the same seriousness that your ancestor used to process the signals from the tribal group. Technology did not create attachment anxiety. It took a system that already existed, highly sensitive and highly calibrated, and gave it an amount of data that had never been available before. The result is an alarm system that can never fully confirm that everything is okay, because there is always one more signal to interpret, one more piece of data to process, one more piece of information that may or may not mean something. And while the system cannot confirm that the bond is safe, it keeps the alert active, no pause, no rest. So what do you do with all of this? The first thing is to stop judging yourself for feeling what you feel. The discomfort that appears when someone important disappears without explanation is not pathological jealousy. It is not insecurity that needs to be cured. It is not emotional childishness. It is a biologically ancient alarm system working exactly the way it was built to work. Recognizing this does not make the discomfort go away immediately, but it completely changes the relationship you have with it. Because when you stop treating the alarm as a personal problem and start understanding it as a mechanism, you are able to create a small distance between the signal and the reaction. Researcher Lisa Feldman Barrett from Northeastern University, who has spent decades studying how the brain builds emotions, describes this process as emotional granularity. The ability to identify more precisely what is happening inside you. It is not generic anxiety. It is the attachment monitoring system responding to a broken pattern. That distinction may seem small, but it changes the way you process the experience. The next time you feel that tightness in your stomach, instead of going straight into the cycle of interpretation, building stories, and checking your phone one more time, you can name what is happening. The system went off. It noticed a broken pattern. It is doing its job. And then you ask yourself one simple question. Is there any real threat here that I can verify right now? If yes, act. If not, the alarm is responding to a signal that the modern world created, but that the brain still does not know how to classify as safe. Feeling this is not weakness. It is having a human nervous system functioning in a world it was not built to live in. The last thing worth saying is this. The fact that you feel this intensely does not say something bad about you. It says something about how much that person matters. The alarm system only goes off strongly when the bond has real weight. Silence hurts when love is real. That is not a problem to be solved. It is a feature of someone who is truly capable of bonding. If this video made you see your own brain in a different way, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Because in the next videos, we will keep revealing the ancient mechanisms that still control decisions you make every day, often without even realizing you are making them. Your brain is not weak. It is just using very old tools in a very new world. I will see you in the next one.